Andrew, just with the news of Gavin, how are you seeing the shortstop position really shaking out? Do you feel like a move is necessary? Are you pleased with the guys that you have now? Just what's going on there?
Yeah, the Lux injury was heartbreaking for everyone. Having a chance to watch him this winter and how hard he worked and prepared for this opportunity. Um, but, from our standpoint, uh, depth is always something that we talk about. It was a big driver for us to go out and get Miguel Rojas. And feel like between him and CT that we're in a good spot. Obviously, there's now a layer of depth that is removed for 2023, and so we're definitely susceptible if we have another injury. So we've decided that we just won't have another injury for the rest of the year. But continuing to add depth is something that we have to be mindful of. We came into this camp with a pretty set position player group, and I think right now it's less set. And so it provides some opportunity for some guys in camp. I'm sure we'll have conversations with other teams as well, and it's just trying to figure out the right profile. For us, it doesn't have to be a shortstop. We feel really good about Miguel and then getting CT back familiar and comfortable at that spot. And so it potentially opens things up, but those are things we're going to spend time on in the next couple of weeks, really discussing and getting into.
How aggressively will you pursue an upgrade or an addition? More aggressively than you would be normally during the spring?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think coming into camp, we felt really good about our position player group and felt like, for the most part, it was fairly well locked down with good depth behind it. And now we feel less good about it. And so, we'll definitely spend a lot more time talking about the various profiles that could fit, because the more that fit increase the chances of being able to figure something out. Spring training typically isn't the best time for those types of moves, but we'll have conversations and see what is possible and what's not.
Have you looked at the remaining free agents and kind of dismissed that as a way to upgrade?
Yeah, I think we feel like the guys that we have here are a really good group, and so for us, if we're going to add from the outside, it's going to be something that either fits us differently or is just a more impactful player in our mind.
Any of those left on the free agent market?
It's hard for me to get into free agent players, but my guess is it would come from within or a trade.
And the trade, making a trade in the spring, how difficult is that?
It's difficult. It's not the most natural time to make a trade. And so we'll spend more time figuring out what's possible. We're not sure at this point. And we're trying to wrap our arms around the various profiles of player and how it fits. And, there's been a domino effect of how guys are going to now spend time, and what positions they're going to play. And so what that opens up and making sure our bench has the right balance are all things we're going to spend time getting into more detail on.
With those things, if you go into the season without being able to make another contribution, with those domino effects, do you feel like you guys can manage that going into the year, even if that means
for sure.
David Brault is playing more regularly? And,
for sure.
Balance.
We definitely do, and I think there's no difference in terms of our mindset is always how can we improve our team. In our mind, it was more difficult a week ago than it is today. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't come from within. There are a lot of really talented players that we feel like could fit really well, but again, we're going to spend more time on the right type profile and how it complements the other 12 position players. And if we feel like we have that here, great. If we feel like we have to go outside for it, then that's something we'll be as aggressive as we can to line up on that.
Are there like specific profiles that you're talking about that
There
you think fit the most?
Not yet. I mean, we're still spending time in debating it.
Does it have to be an infielder, or can you bring an outfielder?
Yeah, I don't think it has to be an infielder.
Does the fact that the Padres have put themselves, put together a pretty good team down there, make this a little more difficult equation for you than it would have been another year when you guys were pretty much, head and shoulders above the division?
Yeah, I'm not sure people always felt that way going into the year. It played out that way, but I'm not sure. I mean, there have been plenty of years where people have projected it to be tighter than it's been. But yeah, the Padres are a really good team. We feel like we're a really good team too. And I think our mindset every year is every game is really important and trying to maximize winning each and every night. So it's no different in that respect. I do envision it to be a very tight race, but I feel like our mindset always is to do what we can to win that night's game, and definitely will be front and center for us this year.
Andrew, in 18, you guys lost your starting shortstop in Seager for the entire year, and you were able to obviously get to the World Series. Do you feel like this team is constructed well enough to be able to sustain the loss to Lux or an impact like that, similar to 18?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we're definitely a team that is talented and deep enough to compete for a championship. Obviously, the Lux injury hurts us in multiple ways, but still feel like we have the talent and depth here to do that, and the whole season to learn more and provide opportunities to different guys, as well as a trade deadline. So we feel like we have the talent in-house to put us in a really good position going into July, and then assess that market, and then hopefully put ourselves in the best position to go out and win a World Series.
Fair to say this impacts you more offensively than defensively?
Yeah, I mean, I think Miguel Rojas is one of the most talented defenders in baseball. But yeah, I mean, I think just the total player that we think Lux is, and the contribution and the balance in terms of handedness, all of those things are going to have a negative effect. That said, Miguel Rojas will have a positive effect as well.
So if it affects you more offensively, does that color what you're, the profile you're looking for? Do you need to go out and get offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, there are different profiles and handedness, and a lot of it depends on who we're going to start more often. And, in the outfield, we have a fluid situation. It's figuring that out, and then what our bench composition looks like, and there are a lot of factors that go into it. We felt like coming into spring training, this was an offensive unit that was going to score a lot of runs. And now, obviously, it's less than what we thought a week ago. We still feel like it's a very high-end offense, but to the extent we can add to it, we'd love to, and we'll always be on the lookout for that.
Is there part of you that almost wants to wait and see how the remaining group kind of comes together early in the season before you do something too drastic, or
it just depends what's available. What odds are that's more likely, just because of spring training and the nature of it, and typically it's a slower trade market and more centered around guys without options. And now there could be players like that fit us well, or it could be someone internal. We've still got some runway left to figure that out, and we're continuing to debate it. But we've got our scouts out looking for various different profiles. We're looking at it in the office, as well as assessing the guys we have here.
Where it's really fun to have trade negotiations too, right after you lose a guy for the season. Other teams take it easy.
A lot of ambulance chasers came out after that injury.
Care to name any of the ambulance chasers by name?
No, but there were teams, agents. There was a lot. I almost needed to set up a hotline for.
Kind of talking about Julio, you mentioned it's kind of impossible for him to hide from the fact that he's a free agent at the end of the year. How much of a priority is maybe keeping Julio?
We've talked about this a lot. I think, we think Julio loves being a Dodger, and I know that we love having Julio be a Dodger. And I think negotiations are something that we can keep more internal. Not I think, I know. And time will tell. I think anytime you have that dynamic where the team really wants the player and the player really likes the team, I think it always increases the odds. But he's put himself in a great position to go out and do really well for him and his family, rightfully so. And so, we'll let some time play out and see when we have something to share.
Is his representative open to discussing an extension?
That's a better question for him, but I think you can deduce different things, but better question for him.
Past performance, future results?
I need the word internal deal.
What's that?
I need the word negotiation, keeping it internal deal. I just didn't know if it was going to be a start at the end.
What
It was in the middle. I wasn't expecting it to be in the middle.
keep you on your toes?
Do you guys feel like you need to pick a closer this spring? Dave's kind of indicated that he doesn't think that's a necessity going into.
I don't think it's a necessity. I mean, I think you could argue different ways. I think the most important question to answer is if we think our pen is going to be really good, and we do. And then it's about the mindset of each one of those guys, keeping them in the best headspace to go out and have a lot of success. I think, one of the many things that Doc, Mark Pryor, Danny Lehman, Josh Bard, Connor McGinnis have done really well is matching up our reliever strengths against hitter weaknesses and having different runs. And I think it's contributed a lot to the success that our bullpen has had. And so it's how much to get away from that, how much to keep that, who are the various guys that can close. Again, I think our bullpen is going to be a real strength, and exactly how it's deployed, I think we have some time to figure out, but I can argue both sides of it, and we'll let kind of this spring into the season dictate that more.
Andrew, I'm Chuck Garfine. I cover the White Sox for NBC Sports Chicago. I'm actually doing a story on Hanser Alberto. And what did he bring to your team last season?
Hanser was awesome. Great addition to our club. I think the joy he had, not just in playing the game, but supporting his teammates, even in early work. It's a long season, and so to have guys like that are extremely important for the clubhouse, and he provided a ton beyond what he did on the field.
Yeah, because there's the whole thing about, well, he's good on the field, but is he even better in the clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a real debate, and not many guys I can say that about.
How are you going to cover his innings this year?
That's a great question. Now, that is that's a good question.
Great.
We're not sure yet. You have any candidates?
Well, Peralta used to be a pitcher, right?
They did. Although they've changed the rules now such
Yeah.
that,
It's not going to happen as often.
yeah, it's the Hanser rule.
Yeah, what's your gauge on him as a pitcher? Where does he rank in terms of position players who have pitched?
Strike throwing extraordinaire.